how I built that first high ticket fitness offer with no tech, okay? So my first offer was a $3,200 fitness program. I didn't have a funnel, I had no automations, no emails, no texts, nothing. All I would do is outreach to people. They would then book a call. At the time, use Calendly, right? I use elite360.io now. They would book a call. And then when they would book the call, I'd get on the phone and I'd sell them. And then all I would do to start is I used literally an Excel spreadsheet. It looked terrible. I'd put their macros or calories, their workouts on an Excel spreadsheet. It looked super terrible and unprofessional. And then I would get them on Zoom calls or FaceTimes as needed in terms of support. And when you think about it, all they really need was that to start. Now, obviously I made it more professional looking as time went on, but when you're starting, it's really just not that big a deal. You don't really have to have that much stuff. In fact, if I can make the argument, if I was coaching you and I was business consulting you and I was just telling you what to do, that'd be plenty. Most of you would be perfectly happy with that. So when you start, usually what I would recommend is you get on Zoom calls, maybe you have some texting features, keep the fulfillment very minimal, see how the client responds, and then you can build on that and you can actually make it a lot better. That's what I'd usually recommend. So focus on one major transformation is a key. So if I'm doing consulting business, I want you to make money. If you're doing fitness, I want you to lose fat or I want you to build muscle. Price it based on the outcome, not the time. So that was the other thing I say, look, it's $3,200 for 4 months, but you're never gonna have to pay for fitness help again the rest of your life. That's what I would sell people on. So I was like, do you want to pay $50 per month the rest of your life, or would you rather pay a one-time fee? And they're like, yeah, I'd rather pay a one-time fee. I'm like, perfect. And then deliver it live first, get results, and then you can scale. And sometimes what's nice too is if you're recording your Zoom sessions or you're recording your FaceTimes, whatever it is, then you can take those and put that into your curriculum, or you can edit those videos and it'll teach people along the way because you're learning what people need first, okay? And believe it or not, I sold it before I ever built it. I know that's crazy, but I did. And that's what I want to recommend to you is you sell it before you build it. And why do you do that? Because what a lot of people do is they do what I call the Shark Tank model. So they go on Shark Tank, take out a huge amount of money, they take on leverage, they have loans, they build out this product, and then they go to sell it and it doesn't sell. And it ruins their life. What I would recommend instead, especially when it's information, that's the best part about this industry is you're selling information so you don't have to sell it or build it first, is you sell it and then you build it. And the reason you do that is if you go out to try to sell it and you can't sell it for 2 or 3 months, and then you spent 2 to 3 months building it, the chances you quit go way up. But if you try to sell it first and then someone buys, you can simply say, hey, I'll get it to you in 24 hours or 48 hours or 72 hours. And you give it to them after. And to be honest, a lot of times it's not very hard to build in the first place. You do this so you don't waste any time and you're very efficient, because if you have a sales or messaging issue and you can't close clients, building this out is not going to do anything because you have no clients, right? So I always recommend you sell it and then you build it, okay? Now, once people started paying, I realized I needed a better way to track what actually mattered. A lot of times when people start a business, they don't understand what numbers I should be tracking or even what the numbers should be. And that's actually the hardest part, because if you don't know what the numbers should be, you don't really know if you're doing good. So I'm gonna walk you through that. But I didn't look at likes or followers. I tracked how many leads I was talking to, how many messages I was sending out a day, how many book calls, how many paid, and that's what grew my business. So I'm actually gonna show you guys a sheet we give some of our clients. And here, when they're starting, it's here's your spend, how many profile views you get, and this is when you're doing boosted posts. There's a lot of different ways to grow a business, but let's assume you're doing boosted posts. How many follows did you get? How many leads? How many inbound convos? How many outbound? Replies, invited people you invited to a call, calls booked, scheduled appointments, shows, sales, right? Like these are the numbers that matter, because a lot of times in business, people will say, you know, the business isn't working. And I'll say, what are your numbers? Oh, I don't know. And you don't even know what your numbers should be. So let's just hypothetically say you weren't even doing boosted posts. If you're doing cold outreach, what I would want is on average at least 100 DMs a day. You get 10% to reply. You book 3 calls, you close 1. And if you're not hitting those numbers, you have an issue. You have a messaging issue. You have a sales issue. You have an offer issue, whatever it is. Like that's what those numbers are there to tell you. If you were doing boosted posts, I also have similar numbers. Like if you spend $1,000 in a day, you'd want followers for $1 to $2. So let's say you have 500 followers. You outreach to all the followers. 30% of those people reply back to you, so 150. And then 10% of those book a sales call, so 15. And then you close like 3 or 4. Like if you're not hitting those numbers, then you have an issue. And that's the whole reason you want to track, because business, believe it or not, it's not emotional. It's 100% logical. And I find logical people actually do a lot better at this, okay? So you want to track your metrics, ignore reach that doesn't lead to revenue, right? Like you don't want to do stuff that is not increasing revenue. And then you can also use Elite 360, which is our internal software, to track these things, right? You can use a CRM or have a system set up on the back end.